You weren't even tall enough to see over the counter, but the moment that ball touched your fingers, something clicked. Not fireworks, not divine purpose, just rhythm. The bounce made sense when nothing else did. You didn't pick basketball because it looked cool. You picked it because it was the first thing that listened when you talked, the first thing that gave back what you gave it. That dusty hoop nailed to a crooked garage wasn't a rim. It was your altar. You stayed out there long after the sun dipped, chasing some feeling you didn't know how to name yet. You weren't trying to be famous, you just wanted to master the bounce, the control, the silence between dribbles. You learned quick that height was currency, and you were broke. Every playground game was a reminder. The taller kids dunked while you double-pumped layups just to stay alive. Coaches called you scrappy. Teammates called you reliable. You hated both. You didn't want to be appreciated. You wanted to be feared. But that wasn't in the cards, not yet. So you carved out a different path. You started seeing the angles, timing rotations, calling out screens before they happened. You weren't the strongest, you weren't the fastest, but you were the one who made it all work. The ball became your mirror. It showed you who you were when nothing else did. Other kids had hobbies, distractions, fun. You had the gym, the routine, the ritual. You stayed after practice alone, putting up floaters until your legs gave out. You counted dribbles, you tracked your misses, you whispered plays to yourself under your breath like spells. While others chased mixtape dunks, you chased mastery. You didn't know what recruiting stars were, you only knew that control was earned in empty gyms. The grind wasn't punishment, it was peace. It was the only place you didn't feel small. Your body might have been undersized, but your game took up space. People started noticing, not with applause, just those subtle nods. The way coaches called you, coach on the floor. The way older kids asked for advice. You pretended you didn't hear it, but you did. It fed you more than cheers ever could. You weren't addicted to the spotlight, you were addicted to order, to being the calm in the chaos. But even as you rose, there was always the whisper, is it enough? You weren't putting up 30, you weren't blowing past defenders, you were just steady, reliable, and that's a curse in this game. You make the system work, and the system forgets you exist. But you kept going anyway, because deep down, you weren't playing for recognition. You were playing for control. You didn't want to be the star. You wanted to be the one who made sure the star could shine, and somehow that felt like enough. Middle school came with tryouts and depth charts and egos. You handled them all. You ran drills like a drill sergeant. You studied film like it was gospel. When they gave you the ball, you didn't look for your shot. You looked for the breakdown, the mistake before the mistake, the moment where it could all fall apart. That's what you hunted. That's what you fixed, and nobody claps for the fix. Nobody cheers for the patch that holds the ship together. But you didn't care, because every time you laced up, every time the ball hit the hardwood and echoed back at you like a promise, you remembered why you started. Not for banners, not for cameras. For that 1 second of silence when the world stops and the ball is yours, and everything makes sense again. That's where you lived. And you told yourself that if you just kept building, just kept trusting the bounce, eventually the world would notice. But it won't. Not really. And that's the part you don't know yet. High school ball hits different. The gym's louder. The stakes feel real. And suddenly, it's not just about rhythm anymore. It's about recognition. Everyone's fighting for it. The clicks, the rankings, the highlight clips. But not you. You're fighting for structure. You're not trying to go viral. You're trying to survive. Because now, the politics kick in. Coaches talk development, but play favorites. The 6'3" guard with bounce and no discipline gets 20 shots a game. You get 6, but you take them, you hit 4. And when the game gets messy, when the offense starts to spiral, it's your voice they listen to. They don't say it out loud, but they trust you. Because you see it before it breaks. You're the first to rotate, the first to call the switch. You get your teammate open, and he bricks it. You don't roll your eyes, you get him open again. Because your job isn't glory, it's order. But that doesn't show up in the box score. And scouts don't care about rhythm, they care about buckets. They watch the wrong things. They miss what you're doing. You're invisible by design. But that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. There's a weight to being the point guard no one tells you about. Every turnover sticks to your name. Every broken play is your fault even if someone else fumbled it. You start to carry mistakes like bricks in your chest. And when the coach yells, he doesn't yell at the shooter who took the wild 3. He yells at you for letting him get the ball. That's the role. You hold the team together. And when it crumbles, you're the one buried in the rubble. You try not to show it. You smile in huddles. You clap on the bench. You run another late night workout with kids who only show up when a scout's coming. But you stay. Because the game still talks to you. The bounce still listens. And even though your legs ache more than they used to, even though you're still getting called too small on every forum thread, you know what you are. You're the system, the gears, the brain, the thing under the hood that keeps it all from falling apart. There's that one tournament. You remember it. Lights were a little brighter. Local news in the stands. You dropped 14 dimes in a game no one filmed. Not flashy passes, just surgical ones. Hit every pocket, called out every backdoor, controlled the tempo like you were conducting an orchestra. And when it ended, they interviewed the kid who scored 28. He gave you a shout out, said, "He made it easy for me." You smiled for the cameras, but it stung. Because you didn't make it easy. You made it possible. But that's the thing, right? That's the curse of being good at the stuff no one sees. You hold everything together and no one knows until you're gone. And even then, they just say, something feels off. Like it's a mystery. Like the soul of the team vanished on accident. You play through it. Through sore ankles, through school stress, through nights when you wonder if anyone will ever notice. You put up another quiet 12-9. No turnovers, no ego, just control. And when the buzzer sounds and you've held the chaos together for another 32 minutes, you walk off like nothing happened. Because the job's not to be seen. The job's to keep everything else from falling apart. And that's what you do. Every game, every practice, every night, without applause, without credit, just faith in the bounce and the belief that maybe, just maybe, someday, someone will finally notice what you've been holding together all along. You thought this would be the payoff, the reward, a full ride, the jersey, the name on the back, the arena packed with fans screaming your school's fight song. You thought college ball would be a dream, but it's not. It's a job, a machine, and the moment you step on campus, it starts chewing. You're not special anymore. Everyone here was the best player at their high school. Everyone had highlight tapes and newspaper articles and scholarships. No one cares what you did before. The scoreboard resets and so do the politics. You're back to square one. Fighting for minutes, fighting for reps, fighting for relevance. The gym feels bigger, but you feel smaller. And the game is faster now, colder, less forgiving. The margin for error shrinks to nothing. You try to lead, you try to be the floor general. But now your voice barely carries over the chaos. The freshman shooting guard doesn't respect your call. The big man rolls too early, the timing's off. You fix it like always, but no one thanks you. Coaches pull you aside after practice and say things like, trust your instincts, and we need your leadership, but you know what they mean. They mean you're not scoring enough, you're not flashy enough, you're not marketable enough. So you stay late again, ice your knees. Film breakdown, more floaters, more form shooting. You know your role, make everyone else better. But that role gets lonelier by the week. You're the first in the gym and the last out, but your minutes keep shrinking. And every time the younger, louder, bouncier kid gets subbed in, you know what's happening. You're being phased out, quietly, respectfully, systematically. You start to feel the difference in your body too. The court doesn't love you like it used to. The bounce is still there, but the recovery isn't. You wake up sore, you limp through morning classes, and that ankle tweak from last season, it never really went away. But you tape it up. You lie on the wellness check. I'm good, coach. You always say you're good. Because the moment you say you're not, they find someone who is. The system doesn't care how smart you are. It doesn't care how many plays you memorize or how many egos you manage during a game. It wants highlights. It wants rankings. It wants Instagram clips with flame emojis. You're none of that. You're the shadow behind the success. The gear they don't oil until it squeaks. The stabilizer. You think about transferring. Everyone does. But you know this story already. New school, same fight. So you stay, you keep showing up, you keep fixing the messes, absorbing the blame, organizing the chaos. Because that's who you are. Because deep down, the bounce still gives you peace, even if nothing else does. And when you walk off the court after another 4 assists, 2 turnovers, 0 hype game, you wonder if anyone saw what you did. Probably not. That's the reality. The machine runs on players like you, but it never stops to say thank you. You've been here long enough to know how it works. The playbook hasn't changed, just the names running it. You're the vet now, the one who leads the huddle, who points without shouting, who corrects mistakes before the coach notices. And they listen, kind of. They follow your lead when it suits them. But the truth is clear in the minutes, in the rotations, in the silence after practice when your name's not on the first 5. You still start some games, the ones that need structure. The coach calls you steady, reliable. Words that once felt like respect now feel like a warning, like a countdown. Because the freshman, the bouncy one with shaky handles but a killer crossover, he's getting your minutes. He's making your mistakes. and no one seems to care. When he scores, the bench explodes. When he turns it over, they say, he'll learn. You've been learning for 4 years, and now they act like there's nothing left to teach? You catch yourself watching from the bench more than playing, studying, not competing. You nod when the coach draws up sets you already know won't work. You adjust, again, quietly. You're not bitter. At least that's what you tell yourself. But it eats at you, because you know the game better than you ever have. You see the floor like a chessboard. You read defenses in real time. But knowledge doesn't jump out of the gym, and IQ doesn't trend on social. The pain gets louder. The knees, the ankles, the deep soreness in your hips that never fully goes away. You used to bounce back. Now you just bounce less. The tape jobs get thicker, the ice baths longer, you start warming up for practice like it's a full pregame. And still, when the scrimmage starts, you're chasing a kid with fresher legs and a looser conscience. He doesn't care if he turns it over, you do. He plays free, you play careful. He gets the green light, you're just trying to stay lit. And here's the part that stings the most. You'll like the kid. He listens, he respects you, he asks questions. He calls you OG in the locker room and means it as a compliment. But every time he checks in for you, it's a reminder. You're not the future anymore. You're the blueprint. You find yourself coaching more than playing, fixing things from the sideline, whispering matchups during timeouts, holding the younger guys accountable in film sessions. You become the glue again. But this time, it's not out of ambition, it's out of inertia, out of loyalty, out of stubbornness. Because this game took so much from you, and you're still here, giving it more. No one tells you when it's over. There's no speech, no ceremony, just less minutes, less touches, less meaning. You walk off the court and no one claps. You ice your knees and no one asks how they feel. You hit the weight room and nod at the freshman who's about to take your job and pretend it doesn't hurt. Because you still believe, maybe delusionally, that control matters. That leadership matters. That the quiet engine is still worth something. But the system, it's already looking past you. You're still running the offense, but they've already moved on. There's no parade at the end. No camera crew waiting in the tunnel, just another locker room, another bench, another cold tub. You peel off your jersey like it's part of your skin. You sit in silence, staring at the floor, knowing deep down this was probably your last real game. Not because someone said so, but because you can feel it. The game's letting go. Or maybe you are. You check your phone. No notifications, no draft buzz, no combine invite, just a few messages from family saying you played hard. They mean well. But you played more than hard. You played smart, played bruised, played quiet, played right. And still, it was never enough. Because the system doesn't reward control, it rewards noise. And you never made enough of it. But you still remember the first time you felt the ball bounce back perfectly into your hand. The first time a backdoor cut landed exactly where it should. The moment the defense shifted exactly how you planned. Those little victories, they never made the highlight reel, but they kept you alive. They're what you'll remember when the lights finally shut off. You won't get a farewell post from the team account, no jersey retirement, no one's naming a gym after you. You were the glue guy, the floor general, the calm in the storm. You made the offense work even when the talent didn't. You made the team better even when it meant you disappeared. And the truth is, most of them won't remember. Not really. The guards you set screens for, the wings you hit in the pockets, the bigs you rotated to cover for, they'll move on. But the game, it remembers. The rhythm, the craft, the obsession, that was never for the crowd. It was for you. The extra hours, the 1,000 floaters, the breakdowns in film rooms no one else stayed for. You didn't do it for clout. You did it because the court made sense when nothing else did. And even now, as the game closes the door behind you, that part stays. You walk out of the gym one last time, bag slung over your shoulder, ankles taped, knees aching, no scouts waiting, no fans cheering, just silence. And somehow it doesn't feel empty. It feels earned. You didn't get the ring, didn't get the deal, but you gave everything. You bent your life around the game. And maybe the game didn't love you back the way you hoped, but it listened. Every time. So when someone asks one day what it was like, you won't say it was all worth it. You won't pretend it was perfect. You'll tell the truth, that you sacrificed your body, your time, your peace, that you held teams together just to be forgotten by them, that you learned the difference between being respected and being remembered. That's why it sucks to be a college basketball player.